Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you the one and only, the inimitable Jason Solis.
Not even a word.
Is it? I'm trying to. It means like no one can imitate you. I probably said it wrong.
Oh, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. You know what is the word, and especially because it is tomorrow, is art, and there definitely is a very distinct line that we can draw between and connecting art and politics. And our friends over at Humanities Guahan have put on a wonderful event to do just that. So right now in the KUM News Zoom room, I got several distinguished members of our island community, some friends of mine from Humanities Guam, Dr. Kimberly Keeling, who is always welcome here at KUM. Doc, I hope you're enjoying the virtual parking space that we've set aside for you always at KUM. Unmute, please.
Of course. Thank you, Jason, for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Chris, for reaching out.
Certainly. And of course, this is Art and Sovereignty, our artist responses to democracy and Chamorro self-determination. That is the event. Dr. Melissa Taitano is the moderator. I can't wait for that. So, Doctor, Hafide, very good to have you here. Okay, oops, and you're muted.
There we go. Thank you very much, Jason.
Okay, and I was gonna say it's very very fitting that we're doing an art and visual impact form and everything, because you're actually using the virtual background of Zoom that I enjoy the most. You're using that blur one, which I think is super cool.
Right.
So thank you
You
for
got
that.
good taste. What can I say?
I need that real life filter for my face, just like
Oh,
a little
God.
off blur. I'd probably be like David Hasselhoff all the way.
Well, Kara Flores is a very good friend of the program over here, and I have had the good fortune of interviewing her on many occasions. She has done a tremendous amount of work in art and in production over the years. So, Kara, thank you for joining us. Good to have your contributions.
Up today, Jason. Thank you for having us.
All right, haven't seen you in forever, so I'm just glad I'm reconnecting with friends here on the show. So thanks so much for joining us, and of course, what would a proper art show be without the one and only Rick Castro, who has forgotten more about art than most of us will ever know. You know, island-wide respected, internationally known, and globally feared for his prominence in art. Rick, how today, my friend?
Off a day, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I'd like, and you all can just jump in as you see fit, because when it talks about drawing the parallels or the connection between art and politics, it's a very well established synergy, if that's even the word. And how is art connected to what we go through as Guamanians, and particularly as Chamorros, when it comes to our political play?
Is that a question for me or for Kim?
Yeah, no, whoever. Just jump in. I mean, it's round robin, so.
So I think the artist should answer those questions. I'm
Yeah, I
not
was
an
gonna say,
artist.
church isn't for another couple days, so you don't be afraid of speaking out of turn.
Can you repeat the question, Jason?
Okay, so basically, like, how do we actually, how do we come to appreciate the link between art and politics, with what we go through as Guam's history and what we've had to go through with our let's call it contentious political climate.
Rick, do you want to take this one, or you?
Yeah, I think what Jason's trying to
sure,
say, guys,
yeah.
and maybe let me
Well-
just paraphrase, is he's trying to talk about and maybe I'll just take over here for this question. Kind of like the responsibility that artists have. I feel that there's a certain responsibility that artists have to kind of chime in and comment and discuss and have conversations about political and social issues. And so I really like this intersection of art and sovereignty. And so that's what we're kind of doing here is this is unincorporated voting voices and visions Paraguahan and art and sovereignty, artist responses to democracy and Chamorro self-determination. This is happening tomorrow, okay, 11 to 12:30. And I know we don't want to give out any spoilers, but just if you could, and I kind of know you guys, so I kind of know what you're going to say, basically. But what is your response to democracy and Chamorro self-determination? And maybe kind of the irony of talking about and having a response to democracy in a place and a people that haven't had the right to self-determine their political future. Doctor?
Well, I think I can chime in just real quick, just to add to that, to your response there, Chris. And that is, I think, at the root of things, right? Our political status, our human experience, filters through and manifests in many ways, and particularly for artists, the living experience of being here in Guam, being Chamorro, you know, you can't separate out that part of the living experience, which manifests again as art. So I think I'm also very excited about this particular forum, because a lot of people don't necessarily, you know, look at art and think that it has anything to do with politics, and in many ways, just the idea of Chamorro self-determination, for example, as a sentiment or the process of decolonization is not strictly, you know, determined by what our political status is. Colonization, settler colonialism, all of that is a kind of living experience, and in that way, it connects to how artists express it through their particular medium.
Rick?
I'm going to jump in.
Yeah,
Chris.
go ahead, Karen.
Do you mind if I take a moment?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to kind of depoliticize the conversation a little bit, because, you know, at NIHI, there's a lot that we do intentionally around education, whether it's decolonization, land, ocean, all of those things. But I think as artists, self-determination is really just about creating from who we are. Like, it's starting with who we are and what we know, and recognizing that, or maybe even not recognizing that there's something unique and beautiful about that, and just authentically creating from that place. So I think whether it's Rick painting or Carrie carving or me making a film about my grandma, those aren't necessarily political acts, but they can definitely, they definitely make a statement to our kids that who we are is special, and that we have a unique view and, or a unique viewpoint, or a unique, we have something magical to bring to the world, I would say. So yeah, Indigenous imagination, I think, is maybe not as political as sometimes we make it out to be.
Rick?
Yeah, well, you know, in reference to my own art, using it as a political tool is, you know, that's like the furthest thing that you would see from mine. But in a subtle way, I eventually stumble on it. You know, for example, I was doing some paintings of the Paget Coast, and I got this request from a collector saying, "Can you do a painting for my husband?" And this was Jen Camacho, married to Attorney General. And I said, "Sure, what's the painting you want me to do?" And she said, "I'd like you to do the Paget Coast. I saw your painting of the Paget Coast, and I'd like to surprise him." And I was kind of like, you know, confused as to why she chose that. And then she mentioned that he helped in preventing access with the military for using with the target range. So sometimes I stumble on it indirectly through my art.
But Rick, do you think
that's one example of that?
Yeah, but do you think that just existing as Chamorro hasn't had the right to self-determine, and also just being colonized? Do you think that just innately it colors your art in ways that maybe you didn't even realize?
I think indirectly it does. You know, just with our family, our own struggles in getting access to being landlocked on a military base makes a subtle statement in that sense. So when I do my landscapes, I guess I sort of do them one of the only things we have that's really close to ourselves as natives and Chamorros. So although my art doesn't really, you couldn't say it's political art in that sense, but the fact that I'm trying to bring awareness to what little land we have left as far as being, you know, a marketable commodity and the value it has to its people. So, you know, if anything, I see the art and how I'm doing the local Junglescape series for Guam as bringing an awareness to that. And, you know, it's not necessarily a snapshot of these places that I'm painting throughout the island, but it's really more like the hidden beauty of it.
Yeah.
So we're so used to looking at Guam in a nutshell as far as what's exposed, the obvious landmarks, you know, to Lover's Point. But I wanted to go beyond that and go even further, venture into the jungle, and remind us that we still have a lot of hidden areas. As small as we are, there's a lot of hidden areas that we should be reminded of that is still here. They still exist, and they haven't been spoiled by overdevelopment, so to speak.
Yeah.
Whether it be by our tourism industry or the federal government.
Rick, I think that's really cool because I mean, you're so famous for your art. I mean, it's just an institution, right? But I don't know if a lot of people, like, I didn't know anything about just the stuff that you shared with us here. But when we talk about just being Chamorro and being colonized and not having that self-determination, I think like with Carrie, right? So she's diaspora. So she's someone who is living, you know, I mean, thousands of miles away from her home. And so when she does her carving, I'm pretty sure that, you know, colors everything that she does. And with Kara, right? I mean, growing up in these circumstances, I'm pretty sure that that's why when we watch Nihi, I mean, I watch it, I see so many things that are indigenous. And I really hate to call like Chamorro self-determination political, because I don't think that it's really political in the way that we usually, I mean, on Guam, right? When you say, oh, politics, you're talking about like partisan politics, and self-determination, it's not a partisan issue, right? So I don't like this like kind of apologetic word like, oh, it's not political, because it's not. I mean, I just think that it's in us, right? This is how we're raised. I mean, you know, me being a product of, you know, a half American father, Chamorro mother. I mean, I live it, right? We're, you know, straddling all these different worlds, and it just colors like everything that we do in life from our perspective, whether or not you're an artist. And so that's why I think it's pretty cool, because it's just providing a lot of insight into maybe some of the whys, right? Doctor?
Are you talking to me or Melissa?
Oh, there's how many doctors are there here?
I'll turn it over to Melissa.
Sure.
So I find this conversation pretty fascinating because, you know, as Chamorros and as islanders, you know, a kind of proximity and closeness to land and to our, you know, our ecological landscape. The fact that Rick, in Rick's example that he gave about land and his connectedness, that it almost, just because we're in the kind of political environment that we are, that something as benign as painting, as seemingly benign as painting beautiful landscapes, is actually kind of, wow, is that political? You have to ask that question, right? So it's almost in reverse. It's almost like just by being an artist and just having a personal expression, which of course, you know, living and growing up here in Guam, you know, we can't escape the kind of we can't escape the relationship that we have with the United States and the kind of education that we've gotten, but just the conversation that Rick talks about land, and he's doing landscapes, that in and of itself becomes political only because of our political situation.
Right, and where Rick, you might be looking at a painting like, oh, that's such a pretty landscape, and then you're like, oh, where is it? Oh, that's my land that was taken unjustly by the federal government, and then so suddenly it just changes, right?
In fact, that's pretty much how the Junglescape series started.
Right.
I was doing some landscapes of the beach property up there at Anderson, and my pari, who was your former father-in-law, said, hey, Rick, why don't you, Joe Babalta, he says, why don't you do a series of junglescapes or jungle scenes of the entire island? And so we kind of planted the seeds of that. And at the time, I didn't really think anything of it. I said, okay, you know, it's derived from my demos. So I started to do it intentionally and sort of hiking into the different areas. And what I realized is, you know, some of the areas that I would have to sneak in, like the Fina Lake area. I had one commission that I had to do, and they said, you know, I want you to paint Fina Lake. And I said, I have no access to that. And he says, don't worry, I'll get you access. And we ended up going through the back way through farmland. It took us an hour to get there. And then when I got there, I was told to lay low as I took my photographs of the area so I can do the painting for the guy. And I just, you know, I'm like, why am I hiding? This is, oh, this is a Navy property and we're not supposed to be here. And then I finally realized, I'm like, man, this is such a beautiful place. But the entire island is literally locked away from this area. And, you know, just looking at the expanse of Fina Lake really opened my eyes to just how much the military controls and how much land is really sort of put away where we have no access to it. And so when I looked at the lake, I figured, man, people have to see this. And I ended up doing like a half a dozen paintings of Fina Lake. And, you know, I finally realized that, you know, if people can't have access to these hidden areas, then I felt obligated to at least do something that could bring awareness to really how much land is being put on hold by the federal government, and how, you know, we still have these pockets of beautiful landscape that we can't even control. We're pretty much at the mercy of the military. And, but, you know, like the purpose of my work basically is letting people know we still have it. It's still here, albeit, you know, in a restricted manner. So everywhere I went, you know, where I'm doing paintings of the Janapson property on Anderson, paintings of the Paget Coast, which was in turmoil with the proposed firing range, and then the Fina Lake. I mean, I inadvertently kept doing paintings that had this sort of network connection to the military in some manner. And I was thinking, where can I go where the military has no say? And it was really, really tough for me to find anything. So that's when I started hiking to areas like Tarzan Falls, Talafulful Falls, Seti Bay, and really needed to expand my work beyond that. And say, okay, not all the treasured areas of the island are being, you know, controlled by the military. We need to let people know that everywhere on this island is precious. It's precious, and we need to basically become aware that, you know, we could be stewards of our own island, basically. And in that sense, I think, you know, just doing the landscapes in that subtle manner will, you know, fulfill my role as an artist.
A lot of insight here, a lot of insight, Rick, because I think with people, you, like I said, you're so famous, your art's widely accepted, but I don't think anyone ever heard, at least on this platform, you discuss like what goes into these paintings. And like I said, I feel like us just being here, it was funny when he said that we're not supposed to be here, yet here we are, right? But just us being here, we're living this art of, you know, who we are and our story. Kara, because we're like way over, but I wanted to just take it to you because you're a little different than the other panel in terms of the visual storytelling that kind of embraces a lot of the technology that we use today. And one thing I admire about the work that you do is that you really do it to reach the young minds, right? And you know, they always say like, hey, if you want to make an impact, you got to get them when they're kids, learn them while they're young, right? And so that's something I really appreciate about what you do with Nihi. And how do you think that kind of sets you apart and also maybe any similarities you have to other artists who are maybe like more traditional in the art that they're doing.
I mean, I think storytelling is a traditional art that is just transferred mediums, right? So, and in a lot of ways, it's like you can be a writer, you can write stories, you can tell them on screen. That's something that is still a traditional practice, but kind of shifting it over to media. I think it's just a necessity. And yeah, I forgot what the question was.
Yeah, it wasn't really a question, but you're right. You're right. I mean, storytelling it's probably the oldest art, right? But you're doing it in a way where, let's just talk about like platforms, right? So you got this message, you got these stories that you want to put out, but embracing the medium, right? That's something that you definitely do different to get your message
Yeah,
out.
so I think, I mean, NIHI definitely has a solid intention behind it, which is to equip the next generation as protectors by reconnecting to land, language, uplifting Indigenous voices, amplifying stories and issues. Outside of NIHI, I don't know if my art is as, like the most recent film that I made, I don't know if it's as intentional in that way. But yeah, NIHI definitely has we have a mission, right? So a very clear mission, and the media that we create, we really think about, is this something that is going to equip future generations to be better protectors, or to face the issues of climate change and militarization and land grabbing and all of those things. So yeah, we definitely have a mission to fulfill. And media is just a tool that helps us to do that.
Jason Solis, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, one and all, for being with us, and we really are looking forward to it tomorrow, right, Dr. Keeling?
Yes, it's tomorrow, and you can get on through our Facebook page. You could also register through Eventbrite. If you just go to Humanities Guahan Art and Sovereignty. Yeah, and we'll begin at 11 o'clock, go to 12:30, so you'll get to hear more from these great Chamorro artists, which also includes Dr. Taitano. She's also an artist. She's a carver. So, and then Carrie Ann will be joining us as well. So it'll be more of this great conversation that we're having right now.
Nice.
All right. Thank
Just
you.
that was a little Chessa for you guys.
Pleasure, Chris.
Right on, always. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Kara, nice seeing
Thank you,
you.
Jason. Take it easy. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Rick, thank you.
Bye.
Doc, thank you. All right, there you go.